So Persona 4 is objectively better than Persona 3. And honestly, I don't know how there's people that think otherwise, because really it just seems completely obvious in my mind. And to be completely fair, I'm going to be comparing Persona 3 Portable to Persona 4 Golden, all the newest versions. Uh, so that'll be fair. But in Persona 3 Portable, I won't be counting the female route thing, because that's just kind of weird. Even though it is a really cool addition, I feel. But I mean, it's kind of that kind of would be cheating a little bit in P3's favor, I feel. But anyway, start off with. I mean, there are a few areas in which P3 is objectively better. The plot, obviously, because P4 doesn't really have much of one. I would say musically, I think P3, the aesthetics of the music is a lot more engaging than P4's. Even though P4's soundtrack also is, fucking incredible. P3's is a bit better, I would say. And, that's, I would say that's pretty much it. And the plot isn't really much of a big deal, because, I mean, Persona games, or at least, modern Persona games, that's not really what you play it for particularly. You play it for the weeb waifu dating simulator, pretty much. And if you want actually good dungeons and stuff, you just fucking play SMT, basically. But anyway, the characters is kind of the biggest one, and I would say the most important one, because Persona is kind of thematically and just in the gameplay based pretty entirely on the strength of its cast. And P3's is honestly kind of weak, and it's especially weak compared to P4's. So first you got Junpei. He's this goofy boy. I don't even want to say, he starts the game as kind of a dickhead. Where he's like, hey, I want to be the leader. Fuck you, dude. You're just a gay. He's kind of an asshole to everybody. And then, of course, during the first shadow fight, first full moon, he basically endangers everyone on the team and almost gets himself and everyone else killed. So that's pretty cool. But, obviously he has some character development throughout the story. He becomes a more mature guy, not so much of a fucking dunce. But compared to Yosuke in Persona 4, who I feel honestly is kind of an underrated character, I think his social link is really brilliantly written. Especially the final fucking scene of it, where you do the big fight. I think that's an especially beautiful scene. But Yosuke, he kind of goes through similar character development of maturing as a person, without being unlikable at the beginning, and B, what he matures out of is, I feel, a lot more interesting than what Junpei matures out of. Because Junpei just matures out of, childish, wanting to be the best at everything, not caring about other people, that kind of stuff. What Yosuke matures out of, childish, or it's more of a teenager kind of thing, I guess. This nihilism of I hate everybody and everything and nothing matters, especially my town, all that stuff. And basically kind of just teaches Yosuke to care deeply about things, which I feel is a lot less, is much more unique of a topic and more interesting. Yukari, she's kind of just a dumb bitch, and everyone pretty much agrees, even though she has a really nice design. And Rise, is a really good character. I don't think anyone will debate that Rise is better than Yukari, so I'll skip that one. Fuka and Yukiko, Fuka is basically just a much less well-written Yukiko. They're basically the exact same character. Pressured by their parents, and they make bad food, so I don't really see how anyone, Yukiko is just written more likably. and Fuka has a bad voice actress, so I mean, there's that one. Mitsuru, I don't think she has like a direct analog comparison in Persona 4, but I mean, honestly, she's just kind of generic when you get to her social link. You know, it's kind of the typical rich girl who doesn't know common people thing, which, I mean, at least to me, that's never been a particularly engaging, you know, character arc, I think. And Mitsuru does, I think she's much more interesting outside of her social link, like her whole growing friendship with Yukari and stuff, the death of her dad. That, I feel, is much more interesting, and she's definitely not a bad character, but her social link, at the very least, is considerably lacking, I would say. You know, against Kanji's social link, against fucking Naoto's social link, I mean, come on, bro. Come on, bro. And of course, you don't get to have social links with the male members of C's, which, I mean, I guess then that doesn't really make sense that I compared Junpei with Yosuke, but yeah, I think that's honestly one of the worst things in the world. Literally, what reason is there for that not to happen? Which I am glad that they remedied in the female route, but it's still pretty fucking ridiculous that that would be the case at all in the first place. So yeah, I mean, and then also, of course, all of the other social links. There are a few standout ones on P3. Tanaka's social link is really good. Trying to think here. I mean, Elizabeth, she's not really a social link technically, but her scenes are pretty fun. I do definitely like Elizabeth a lot more than I like Margaret, but honestly, nothing comes to mind as being like an actual really good social link. And I mean, to be fair, it's been a long time since I played P3, so maybe there are better ones that I just can't think of right now. But yeah, I must say, pretty poor. And not that P4 is incredibly strong either. There are quite a few weak ones in there, but nothing as fucking bad as the goddamn fucking Moon, the fucking fat boy. That is like straight up one of the worst fucking social links. Probably the worst social link in all of Persona, I would say. Gameplay, I mean, honestly, pretty much the same. Yeah, not really any difference, you know, between P3P and P4G. If you want to go earlier, of course, the fact that you can't control your party members in P3 FES and regular P3, that's a slight issue, I think, probably for some people. But yeah, not really any difference between P3P and P4G, I would say. Graphically, I mean, of course, there's no visuals. Well, I mean, that's not true. It's basically just a visual novel in P3P throughout most of the story, which, I mean, it's not a huge loss, I would say, because Persona 3 has kind of not incredible visuals. It doesn't really do much with them. But it is something that is gone and missing. So, you know, if you get bored by kind of the visual novel style, then I mean, you're probably going to be bored by P3's presentation, because it's in that style. Because apparently they couldn't fit the whole game on the PSP. What else? The villains of Persona 3 are basically kind of bade, I would say. I mean, you have fucking Strega, who are just these random goons who are just like, yeah, I love the Dark Hour and having a persona, yeah. And they're not really interesting at all. I mean, Chidori kind of becomes interesting just through her relationship with Junpei. But other than that, I mean, what, is his name Jiraiya? The other two guys, really just random guys, honestly, who hate you for, you know, because you're trying to take away the dark hour or whatever, but it's kind of just basically nothing. And, I mean, that's pretty much all the villains in Persona. Well, there is the big reveal with Ikutsuki, which was a pretty effective reveal. I didn't suspect him for anything. That was pretty surprising. But the twist with Adachi was way cooler, was way more impressive, was way better. You actually got to have a boss fight with Adachi. Stuff like that. And there really aren't any other villains in P3. I mean, there's Nyx, who, I mean, isn't really a villain. It's just kind of a force of nature, I suppose. And the fight against Nyx is really cool and really great. I would say definitely better than the fight against Izanami no Okami. But, but yeah, I mean, the rest of the fights are just against fucking random shadows who have no significance on the plot. Compared to P4, who, I mean, you know, the boss fights aren't super intrinsically tied to character development, which is super fucking creative. It's a good way to develop your characters well. Stuff like that. Which, I mean, this kind of makes boss fights in P4 a lot more engaging. It makes going through the dungeons a lot more bearable, because, I mean, honestly, the dungeons are kind of shit. It makes it more bearable because you know at the end you're going to get this big climactic emotional fight, and you're going to get to see some character development stuff. Compared to P3, where it's just like, hey, fight the shadow, fucking kill it. We did it. Good job. And finally, the dungeon design, I guess, to kind of riff off of that. Persona 4 has shit dungeon design. I think everybody kind of knows this. You know, it's just this randomized big hallways of hell, which are not fun at all, really, to navigate. But P3 is worse. Tartarus is even worse than the P4 dungeons, because it's, you know, just go up a million floors. It's just not good, and neither are the dungeons for the boss shadows. When those happen, those also are generally really horrible. So, you know, it's the lesser of two evils here, but the lesser of two evils is definitely P4 in this case. I mean, I guess there is one other thing, I suppose, just talking about the games on an aesthetic level. And this one, I mean, this isn't really objective, this kind of goes to personal preference. But I feel that P4's aesthetic of, you know, taking place in a small town, kind of having this rustic, retro feel to it, is a lot more unique and engaging than P3's aesthetic of, you know, being slick and stylish and city stuff. But I feel that it's been done a lot before in a lot of other RPGs. And I don't think P4's particular aesthetic has really been done before. And at least to my personal, you know, background and stuff, it appeals to me a bit more, I would say. But yeah, that's my big video. I doubt anyone's gonna care, but that's why I made it, because I want all you goddamn normies who don't like anime games off my channel.